Before we get into today's edition of Just the Truth, let me tell you about the latest special from Mike Lindell at MyPillow. The standard MyPillow, normally $49.98 for a limited time only, just $14.88 with promo code Joey. Go to MyPillow.com, click on the radio listener specials, and see all the specials. There's a limited quantity of just 10 at this special price. That's $14.88 with promo code Joey. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studio. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. Kamala Harris's billionaire surrogate suggesting that Trump women are dumb. This on the heels of Joe Biden's garbage comment. The Harris campaign should probably consider just calling it a day and suspending their campaign and get through Tuesday. The Arizona Superior Court ruled yesterday that Maricopa County must provide a conservative watchdog group with a list of non-citizens currently registered to vote in their effort to make sure only U.S. citizens are voting. There's said to be over 200,000 people potentially on that list. The New York Post headline, Migrants are surging into the U.S. ahead of the election in case Trump wins. Free lunch is most likely coming to an end. We got the details on this surge of migrants coming in. A judge has stopped a Philly DA's attempt to stop Elon Musk's 1 million daily voter payout. We have the details on that as well.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson bill, but, they don't allow you to put names on bills. But I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
So first it was Joe Biden calling Trump supporters garbage. Had a lot of people walking around in orange vests yesterday. I'm still encouraging you, if you haven't voted yet, to get an orange vest and wear it to the poll. This alone was enough to give Donald Trump dominance in these final days of the election, the headlines. But no, Mark Cuban, he has outdone this. Mark Cuban suggested that women in Donald Trump's orbit are weak and dumb, and boy, it is blowing up Kamala Harris's campaign, even as the furor continues to rage over Joe Biden's dismissal of garbage, of Trump supporters being garbage. So here's what Cuban said during an appearance on ABC's The View yesterday.
Donald Trump is not even asking Nikki Haley for her help to try to reach her voters. What do you make of that? And do you think having people like Liz Cheney, Adam Kinzinger, and other Republicans with Kamala Harris is going to put her over the edge with these Nikki Haley supporters?
Yeah, yes, it'll put her over the edge with Nikki Haley supporters. Donald Trump, you never see him around strong, intelligent women, ever. It's just that simple. They're intimidating to him. He doesn't like to be challenged by them. And, Nikki Haley will call him on his nonsense with reproductive rights and how he sees and treats and talks about women. He just can't have her around. It wouldn't work.
I think Stormy is intelligent. I don't think that's 100%. She's very smart. Yeah, Stormy.
He means...
Oh, how cute to bring up Stormy Daniels. Yes. So, according to Cuban, Trump doesn't like strong, intelligent women around him. Has this man lost his mind? Think about some of the women who has worked for Donald Trump over the years. Think about some of the women in the Trump administration. The comments, of course, as you can imagine, resulted in a firestorm of criticism from Trump supporters, both men and women. Responding after this erupted, Nikki Haley, Cuban told Fox News, obviously, I wasn't talking about Nikki Haley, and I wasn't talking about all Trump supporters. That's ridiculous. He's already trying to backtrack. Asked if he would have chosen his words differently in hindsight, Cuban said, quote, I would probably just add that I'm only speaking to the point that I haven't seen Trump side by side on the campaign trail with women I consider strong and intelligent, like Nikki Haley, Kellyanne Conway, and Tulsi Gabbard, among others. Well, Tulsi Gabbard's been traveling around the country for him, right? You see Kellyanne Conway defending him and talking on the news shows all the time. Nikki Haley has also endorsed Trump, hasn't traveled with him necessarily, but she has made it clear that she thinks he should be our next president. Cuban also tried to add context with a post on X yesterday afternoon, realizing just how much trouble he is in, noting that he knows many strong, intelligent women voting for Trump, he said. Citing members of his extended family as an example, he also said that women who have worked for Trump in the past, such as Ivanka Trump and Kellyanne Conway, represent strong, intelligent women as well. He's trying to dig his way out of the hole that he dropped himself in. Cuban stated again in his post on X that he still stands by his opinion that Trump does not like being challenged publicly. Meanwhile, in a statement to Fox, Trump campaign National Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt called Cuban's comments extremely insulting to the thousands of women who work for President Trump and the tens of millions of women who are voting for him. These women are mothers, entrepreneurs, and industry leaders, and they are indeed strong and intelligent despite what Mark Cuban and Kamala Harris say. She added one more thing. The joy at Kamala headquarters has been replaced by division, vitriol, and a disturbing level of disrespect for the millions of Americans who are supporting President Trump after 4 years of destruction under Kamala Harris. What did happen to this campaign of joy and unity that Kamala Harris laid out during the Democrat National Convention? Where did those plans go? And boy, has she had a bad few days. First off, with her boss's comments about Trump supporters being garbage, and now this surrogate, one of her big supporters, alienating smart women. And there are a lot of them out there, my wife included, who are strong Donald Trump supporters. Not surprisingly, you had a list of prominent conservative women quickly firing back, defending both Trump and their own credentials. Soon after, as well, the Trump organization, Trump has a great, they call it the Trump Rapid Response Team, and I'm on their mailing list. They have a great team because they respond to these things very quickly. I mean, within an hour or so, I received an email with a whole list of strong, very confident, very intelligent women who had already sent a statement to the Trump campaign for them to release. Starting with Susie Wiles, the Trump campaign co-manager. Laura Trump, of course, his daughter-in-law, said, just when you think the Kamala camp can't possibly alienate and divide people any more than they already have, now they attack women who support Trump. Nice job, Mark, she wrote. Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders, I worked for President Trump for 2.5 years. Democrats tried to tear me down. President Trump tried to empower me and every other woman in America. And the list goes on. Kellyanne Conway chimed in. Kayleigh McEnany, a former White House press secretary, said, this is so profoundly offensive. I work for Donald Trump. I consider myself a strong woman. I consider those around me strong women. Mercedes Schlapp, Mary Melman, Jennifer Korn, former White House deputy assistant, Alina Habba, an attorney, said, you're putting women down. See, President Trump doesn't do that. He surrounds himself with strong women like me. And the list goes on. House Republican Chairwoman Elise Stefanik said, you're a sexist disgrace, Mark Cuban, smearing tens of millions of strong, intelligent women across America. And Kamala Harris stays silent. Wonder if the vice president will defend his statement or will challenge his statement. Others commenting, Governor Kristi Noem said, game on, buddy. I'll take you on any day in a debate or maybe even an arm wrestling. U.S. Senator Joni Ernst, former U.S. Senator Kelly Loeffler, Congresswoman Harriet Hagman, Congresswoman Mary Miller. And again, it's just a whole list who came out. I think Mark Cuban probably would like to retract that statement, but too late, buddy. Speaking of the surprise garbage truck ride that just really dominated the last 24-hour media cycle, again, it was just brilliant. Fox News got a chance to talk with Andrew Brisson, the vice president of Loadmaster, who was the driver of the truck and was able to get the behind-the-scenes story. I'm going to share that with you in just a few minutes. Interesting story how this looks to be a fairly young man was called on at the last minute to get this garbage truck. At first, he was a little suspect. Is it really for Donald Trump? Had no idea that he was going to be that Donald Trump was going to be in the cab with him. It's an interesting story. I'll share that with you in just a minute. And speaking of Trump, just a reminder that Saturday he will be delivering remarks at a rally in Gastonia, North Carolina, just up the road from us here in the upstate of South Carolina. It's going to be at the Gastonia Municipal Airport in Gastonia, North Carolina, 8 a.m., doors open. So, hey, get there early in order to get in. 12 o'clock, the 45th president and 47th soon-to-be president will deliver remarks. If you haven't been to a Trump rally, it's worth the trip. This year, I really thought I was going to have to boycott the holidays. I was going to lock myself away and not come out until 2025. But after finding PhD weight loss, you can bet I'll be at every holiday party I'm invited to. That's because PhD weight loss helped me take control with great confidence, support, and my new healthy body. The best part, PhD weight loss did it all without harmful drugs that keep you dependent on them to maintain your weight loss. It's a natural, medication-free approach to weight loss crafted to naturally diminish food-related thoughts, hunger, and cravings, making your weight loss journey more sustainable and enjoyable. Take it from me, I lost 33 pounds. The PhD weight loss program teaches you not just what to eat and when, but also how to think differently about food and finally let go of those cravings and get rid of the hunger naturally. Don't lock yourself away this holiday season. Call PhD Weight Loss today at 864-644-1900. That's 864-644-1900, or go to myphdweightloss.com. So the news cycle this week has been dominated by Joe Biden talking about Trump supporters being garbage. Whether he said it intentionally or not, if it was just a miscue, which is what Kamala Harris's campaign is wanting you to believe. Personally, again, I believe he said it purposely. I think he's trying to sabotage her campaign. I don't think Joe Biden will be sad at all if Donald Trump wins. Now, he doesn't want to say that. He's conflicted because he doesn't want Donald Trump to win, but at the same time, I don't think he wants Kamala Harris to win either because he views her as pushing him out of his life dream. And I'm sure that Dr. Jill Biden is probably encouraging him because I think she is as angry as he is. Wouldn't surprise me if both of them don't support or don't vote for Donald Trump. So the whole garbage issue has just been handled by Trump masterfully, and it's taking on a life of its own. I mean, yesterday my buddy Mike Gallagher wore an orange vest on his radio show, and you could watch him on the Salem News Channel. Others did. My friend Charlie James, who does afternoons on 98.9 WORD, the voice of the Carolinas in upstate South Carolina, here, of course, also wore an orange vest for his show. I mean, it was just, and I'm encouraging you to wear an orange vest to go vote. If you haven't voted yet, I voted early because you guys convinced me that I should. I just voted too early because I wish I could go vote again and wear an orange vest. I got a lot of text messages and emails from you guys talking about that. I'll share some of those with you a little later in the show. So this garbage truck, it was just masterful. And Fox News, Martha McCallum on the story, caught up with Andrew Brisson, who was identified as the vice president of Loadmaster, the company who provided the truck that Trump was in. He spoke with Martha McCallum and gave the backstory of how this all came about. Let's listen in.
So give me the quick version. How did you find out you were doing this, and did you have any idea who you'd be driving around in a couple hours?
Kind of knew it maybe would be driving Trump around, but I guess it was very spur of the moment. I just sat down for lunch and started eating when our secretary got a phone call, and then she came into my office saying there's someone on the phone. They want a garbage truck down in Green Bay. Can you do something? Didn't really believe it at first till I picked up the phone, talked to the guy myself. And then I guess after a little conversation, he knew somebody that I knew within the industry down in the area. Went out into our lot, found a nice looking garbage truck and hopped in it and started heading down to Green Bay.
Well, it was a bright white, beautiful garbage truck that you brought over. And in the beginning of that soundbite, he's talking about climbing up into it because he says the first step is really high. But you heard him say, I had a burst of adrenaline and because he thought it would be embarrassing if he had trouble getting in and out of it. So then he jumps into the truck. And what did you guys talk about?
Unfortunately, didn't really talk about a whole lot. He just looked over and said hello, shook my hand, went talking with the press, answering their questions. Once they were all done, started up the truck. I blew the air horn. Then he looked over at me. He said, "Can you take me for a ride in this thing?" Yeah, I can do that. And, released the park brake, put it in drive, and started moving forward. Like Trump said, we only moved a foot or two, and then the Secret Service kind of just started glaring at me and waving their hands, and that was the end of the ride.
So he said that you look like Cary Grant. So here's a picture of Cary Grant up on the screen. He said the guy in the truck looked like Cary Grant. Let's see it. Oh, there he is. You do look kind of like Cary Grant, except with a mustache and a beard. Did you know who Cary Grant was before you said that?
No, I didn't have a clue, and quite a few people are commenting on it and still haven't had a chance to look up who it is.
All right. Well, Mr. Bryson, thank you very much. It's a beautiful truck, and it looked great last night, and it made a big splash. So thank you for talking with us today. Good to see you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Stay well.
What a great story. And I guess that's his 15 minutes of fame. But kudos to him for springing into action and making that all possible. It's just it's a wild time. And we are on the downside of the slope here as Tuesday will roll around here quickly. And with that is going to, over these next few days, folks, it's going to get rocky. Maybe even the next few weeks. We'll see how Tuesday goes. This whole thing in Maricopa County, which I'll share with you in a few minutes, where the Arizona Superior Court ruled yesterday that the state had to turn over this list of non-citizens who have registered to vote. The America First Legal filed suit back in August trying to get access to it. We got that story for you. And you got all these other things going on, like in the, where was it? Is it Portland? Portland, Oregon, and Vancouver, Washington, where you actually had ballots burned. This was earlier in the week. An incendiary device was used to set ballot boxes on fire in Portland and in Vancouver. The attacks damaged several ballots. Quick action taken by some locals that put it out. It could have been worse. But you had a box full of ballots in both places that burned, and there's nothing you can do about it. Can't replace them. You have no idea who the ballots had been voted for. The suspect police are looking for is described as a white male, 30 to 40 years old, has a thin face, balding or very short hair, possibly some serious metalworking skills, the police say. They're searching for a specific vehicle tied to the incidents, a tan or gray Volvo S60 with distinctive dark wheels and unpainted trim. So far, still no arrest by the Portland police. The FBI has stepped in, and they're helping out with the investigation as well. Police Chief Bob Day said that they're making progress, but warned of potential further attacks if the suspect remains at large. This is just an example. Interestingly, investigators said that the devices, the explosive devices that started the fires, had on them messages like "Free Gaza," "Free Palestine." Now, it's unclear if this is sort of a political message that they're trying to make or an attempt to stir up tensions. Either way, the authorities are leaving no stone unturned, they say. They're taking this very seriously, looking for these people. Now, the only thing I can hope for is that these particular drop boxes were in Democrat areas. But it also kind of helps us with the argument that drop boxes just aren't safe. We shouldn't be using drop boxes because you can't watch them, you can't guard them. And this just proves the case, right? Hopefully, at some point, drop boxes will be outlawed in every single state. Coming up, Maricopa County must provide the America First Legal with the list of non-citizens who are currently registered to vote. I'll give you the details. Your comments are welcome on the Firmin Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Speaking of the Firmin Ford text line, it's never been more important to support locally run businesses owned by people who actually live here in the upstate. Let me take a minute to talk with you about our friends at Firmin Ford. If you're looking for a new vehicle, maybe a great pre-owned vehicle, one you can trust, or maybe you're looking to order that special vehicle. Either way, if you want a new one, a brand new one, or a pre-owned that you can trust, the folks at Firmin Ford, they're there to help you. Their name is on the sign because their name is on the line, because every single transaction is important to them. Jim Firmin, Matthew Firmin. They do business the right way. When you stop by, when you give them a call, or maybe when you just send them a quick email, you're always going to have access to a member of the Firmin Ford family. And by the way, they also offer great service, and you're not going to have to wait weeks and weeks to get it done. And you do not have had to purchase your vehicle at Firmin Ford. Doesn't even have to be a Ford. They service all makes and models. Visit my friends at Firmin Ford online at firminford.com, firminford.com. So here's a story out of Arizona. Maricopa County must provide a conservative watchdog group, America First Legal. They filed a suit back in August with a list of non-citizens currently registered to vote, according to the Arizona Superior Court. This ruling passed down just yesterday. In the ruling, it said, as the court admonished the parties prior to and during the hearing, the issue for the court to decide is whether the records that plaintiff requested must be released pursuant to Arizona's public records law. Despite the political undertones, this is simply a public records case, the judges ruled. During an evidentiary hearing, Arizona Secretary of State Adrian Fontes testified that a system error had affected approximately 218,000 registered voters. The order notes that Fontes acknowledged having a partial list of about 98,000 voters who have not confirmed their proof of citizenship, but stated that no complete list of all 218,000 affected voters exists. Fontes attributed a government press release's mention of a complete list to hasty drafting and unclear language. He also claimed that the Motor Vehicle Division had not provided him with any list containing personal information for the additional voters potentially lacking sufficient documentation. However, the court concluded that his testimony was inconsistent. Fontes initially denied possessing the list of 98,000 voters before amending his statement later. The court document says his testimony suggested that he lacked detailed familiarity with the Arizona Secretary of State's efforts with regard to the issue and with regard to the records in the possession of the Azos related to the 218,000 individuals. Additionally, the order chides Arizona's Department of State for presenting Professor Robert Pape, a political science professor at the University of Chicago, as an expert witness. Now, listen to this. The court said that it assigned minimal weight to Professor Pape's testimony. Much of his testimony, they said, focused on national trends and political violence, lacking specific analysis related to Arizona. So they have this guy sitting up there testifying, who's supposed to be an expert witness, but he doesn't even have any details on Arizona specifically. It's a case in Arizona, and they have this guy flown in who says he's an expert, but he just talks in national generalities. And the whole purpose of him testifying was he was trying to sow the seed of doubt and to suggest that if they proceeded and they released these names, that it would put some of these people listed on there in jeopardy, and that there could be violence as a result of releasing the names. During the cross-examination, Professor Pape acknowledged that he had conducted no research pertinent to Arizona. He also, his assertion that releasing the requested information could lead to violence or harassment was largely speculative, the judges believe, based solely on national statistics. But basically, they're just saying you wasted your time and your money with this expert, so-called expert witness. The high court concluded the credibility of Professor Pape's testimony report was further diminished by what appeared to be gratuitous political bias in his report and in his testimony. The professor's opinions regarding general political violence focus almost entirely on allegations of past and anticipated prospective violence from only one side of the political spectrum and only related to former President Donald Trump. Fontes and Pape argued that producing the list of 218,000 voters to the AFL's client would expose those individuals to risks of harassment and potentially violence. The court document read, however, the only evidence they presented was about generalized threats of elected-related political violence, mostly against elected officials. They failed to identify any specific threats of violence or harassment. This decision of the court comes after the AFL filed suit on behalf of the nonprofit group Strong Communities Foundation of Arizona and Yvonne Cahill, a registered voter and naturalized citizen in Maricopa County. This, again, started in August. AFL had previously given Maricopa County 1 week to address the alleged non-citizens on its voter rolls. The lawsuit claims that as of April 2024, more than 35,000 registered voters in Arizona had not provided proof of citizenship, limiting them to voting only in federal cases, according to the Arizona Secretary of State's office. The lawsuit alleges that Arizona's voter registration system creates a split between those who provide proof of citizenship and those who do not. Under Arizona law, DPOC is required for state and local elections, but the U.S. Supreme Court has ruled that the federal voter registration form does not mandate this requirement. Consequently, Arizona has a bifurcated system where voters who use the federal form, known as federal-only voters, are restricted to voting only in federal elections. Maricopa County Recorder Stephen Richer, through his attorney, stated that he would not take any action, citing, among other things, concerns for the safety of voters and concerns about the accuracy of the list. This is just an example, and all of this gets very complicated because you've got all of these individual state laws, as it should be. I mean, elections and how states operate their elections is left up to the state. But you would think that there could be just some common sense. I mean, just like we have in South Carolina, when you go to the poll, you have an amendment to our state constitution that just closes a loophole that says non-citizens cannot vote in any election, federal or local. Now, I've had some people who've actually challenged that, saying, well, why do we need to do that? Well, it's very simple. We need to make it very clear that if you're not an American citizen, you can't vote in anything in South Carolina. That is just common sense, and it should be in every state. We do not need to complicate this. If you're not an American citizen, you don't vote, and you shouldn't be allowed to register to vote. By the way, on this weekend show, Word on the Street, I'm going to be talking with Curtis Smith, chairman of the Spartanburg County Republican Party, and what activities the local parties undertake for elections. That they've been monitoring the early voting, and they'll have poll watchers at the precincts on Tuesday. I'll also have John Balcom, who is the Spartanburg County, South Carolina director of local elections and registration, and I'm going to talk with him about some of the questions that have come up about the voting machines, how they scan, and just some of the precautions that South Carolina and his office particularly have taken to make sure that there's no hanky-panky during this early voting. And I'm also going to talk to an elector because, yes, we're all voting, and we're voting for Donald Trump. But as you know, the elector our vote will elect electors who will be sent to Washington, or actually who will vote, and then those results delivered to Washington in January. And that's what actually determines the president. And I'm going to have an elector on with me for the weekend show as well to just talk about how she became an elector, what the process was, and what she will do, what her duties are. So be sure and tune in. If you can't listen on 98.9 WRD, the voice of the Carolinas, you can listen on the Odyssey app or on my podcast, Just the Truth. And while you're there, be sure and subscribe and like and comment on my podcast, Just the Truth. Just wherever you listen to podcasts or on the Odyssey app, search for Joey Hudson, Just the Truth. Over the past couple of months, several times I have talked about inmates in the South Carolina penal system who were waiting to be executed. South Carolina, up until just a few weeks ago, had not been able to carry out any executions in a number of years because they could not buy the drug that was required or needed for lethal injection. And previously, our system allowed the inmates to choose their method of execution. So they had lethal injection, they had the electric chair, and a year or so ago, they added death by firing squad. So they got to choose. Well, they all chose lethal injection because they knew the state could not carry that out because up until recently, they couldn't purchase the drug required to do that. That all went away with some changes in our law, and we adopted a shield law, which would protect the drug companies. So now South Carolina can carry out an execution by lethal injection. We had the first one a few weeks ago. Second one is today. Richard Moore has spent 2 decades literally waiting to die because he was convicted of a 1999 murder. Now, his family says he's a loving father, doting granddad who deserves mercy, not death. Supporters say he's a changed man from that night he went into a convenience store and murdered James Mahoney, who was the store clerk. His attorneys say that there's conflicting evidence in this case and have objected to the fact that he was convicted by an all-white jury. Yesterday, his fate was decided when the U.S. Supreme Court declined to stop his execution today. Governor Henry McMaster has already declined Moore's plea for clemency. So Richard Moore, his death sentence will be carried out by lethal injection sometime today. Your comments are welcome on the Firmin Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Whether you're replacing a broken appliance or maybe you're just upgrading, you're totally remodeling the kitchen, when it's time to get those new appliances, when you're ready for them, you don't want to have to wait weeks or even months to get started using them, right? Well, that's not the case when you shop with my friends at Discounted Appliance Warehouse. With over 11,000 square feet and 1,500 appliances at any given time, you can buy today and use today quite often. I'm talking about shopping with my friends at Discounted Appliance Warehouse in Pickens. It's worth the short drive over to Pickens. Jeff, Johnny, Kyle, the whole team over there, they'll take good care of you. They have an award-winning service department, expert installation, extended warranties, and at Discounted Appliance Warehouse, they treat you like family. You're more than just a credit card swipe to all the team over there. Discounted Appliance Warehouse are proud to offer Speed Queen, the only washer and dryers with manufacturer's warranties that cover parts and labor. You owe it to yourself, if you're looking for a new appliance, to head over to Pickens to Discounted Appliance Warehouse online at dawpickens.com, dawpickens.com. Authorities in a Texas border area say they are seeing a huge surge of mass illegal crossings ahead of the election. Sources say the groups are in a rush to make it into the U.S. before former President Donald Trump potentially wins next Tuesday. I have the details of that for you in just a moment. First, let's get to some of our text messages. Texter says, Joey, Kamala and Hillary lacking style and clothing, dressing stylistically drabby is a socialist thing. They don't believe in it. Ah, okay. All right. This is in response. I had a texter one day this week talk about how Kamala, even though she probably is wearing expensive clothes, which she is, just doesn't seem very stylish. And they said that her clothes appear to be very similar to what Hillary Clinton wears, and asked if they had the same stylist potentially. Texter says, Joey, no need to campaign in Pennsylvania anymore. ABC has declared Harris has won as of Sunday at the Formula One race. Look, there's Pennsylvania. I feel good about Pennsylvania. I think Donald Trump's going to win it. Texter, insulting the candidate, good. Insulting the supporters, Biden, I mean, what? Yeah, that's a good question. What? What was Biden thinking? Texter, Joey, it's Joe from Lawrence. Hey, Joe from Lawrence. Imagine if Trump had said the garbage comment, the left would never let it go. Thank you for what you do, Joey. We thank you, Joe from Lawrence. I appreciate you listening. Texter says, take garbage bags to the polls, leave them at the door. I've been encouraging everybody to wear the orange vest to go to the poll. Texter says, Joey, I don't know why it's so hard to find out if Harris ever worked at McDonald's. The Social Security Administration has the entire work history of every American who has worked any job and paid taxes. That means every job we've held in our entire lives. I just have her call Social Security and produce the proof or admit that she lied. I don't really care where she worked. I'm just tired of hearing it and seeing her get away with lying. Terry. Thank you, Terry. Well, I think you are right that Social Security does have records of our work, of our jobs and what we paid in. I don't know that they necessarily have maintain a database of our employers for that far back. But you're right. Look, the bottom line is this. Kamala Harris knows she never worked at McDonald's. That's why she ignores it and just tries to let the issue go away, because she knows she can't prove that she actually worked at a McDonald's. I wonder if she's ever worked with a garbage company. Next thing you know, she'll be talking about driving the garbage trucks around. Where's she from? Is it Los Angeles? Or San Francisco? I forget. Where was she a DA? Texture, Joey, I like the way you bring Nana Hudson up often. Sounds like she gave you a good upbringing. Thanks be to God. Well, thank you. Nana Hudson, I'll be sure and tell her that. Nana Hudson did raise me right, for sure. She made sure that I was in church at a very early age. I love to tell the story. My mom, when I was, I don't know, probably 2 or 3, I'm not really sure. I need to ask her that. When I was old enough to start going to Sunday school, to come out of the nursery and go to Sunday school, the lady who taught that class, I guess preschools, was retiring. So my mom volunteered to teach our Sunday school class so that she would teach me. And she taught that class for another 30 plus years. Yes, Nana raised me right. Texter, Tony. Tony says, Joey, I've already bought my orange vest for work starting on Monday. Good for you, Tony. This is from our email inbox. How about just using a big garbage bag, put your arms through it, your head through it, and go to the voting booth? I think they would probably get the message, wouldn't they? John emailed, says, I don't think the orange vest alone says enough about what it represents. We need to wear a black garbage bag at least, and maybe the orange vest over that. All right, yes. Ryan in the inbox says, Joey, what do you think about Project 2025, and do you think it will have a negative impact on veterans? Don't believe the rhetoric that Kamala Harris, she has tried to demonize Project 2025. First off, Donald Trump, as he has said many times, has not endorsed that at all. Project 2025 is a product of the Heritage Foundation. The Heritage Foundation is a conservative think tank. That's what they do. They sit around and think. They have researchers, they have economists, lawyers, and they think about problems that our country is facing, and then they think about solutions. And these are just suggestions to get the conversation going. Now, Kamala Harris wants to demonize this. She wants to demonize the Heritage Foundation for even thinking about doing this. This is not uncommon at all. There are a lot of conservative think tanks who do this, just like there are a lot of liberal and a lot of progressive think tanks who do likewise. Some of these, the Green New Deal, all started in think tanks. So don't be concerned about Project 2025. And I can promise you that Donald Trump is not going to allow anything to happen to our veterans. He will take care of our veterans. I promise you that. I'll guarantee you that. So authorities in a Texas border area are seeing a huge surge of illegals coming across the border. A Border Patrol source told the New York Post migrants are without a doubt rushing because they see that their free lunch is most likely coming to an end, meaning that they're afraid Donald Trump's going to win next week. More than 300 illegals have turned themselves into border agents each day in Maverick County, which is home to Eagle Pass, Texas, according to multiple Border Patrol sources. It's roughly double what they were seeing just a few weeks ago. According to the agents, large groups are crossing into South Texas. They're from countries deemed as special interest due to hotbeds of terror suspects, including Iran, Angola, Pakistan. Does this not just terrify you? It's one thing when you have Mexicans coming across our border illegally because they have just walked across Mexico to get there. But when you have people from other countries who had to literally travel to another continent, that's scary. Because I promise you, they don't have our goodwill in mind. They're not coming here to be friends. They're not necessarily coming here just to seek opportunity, like some of the Mexicans and some from South America have in the past. They're coming here because they hate us. For months, Texas border agents say that the heat had kind of decreased the level of crossings. But now they say the migrants are growing desperate because of the election, and they're afraid they're going to miss out, so they're heading as quickly as they can to get into the country before Donald Trump is in charge again. Trump has said that he would bring in local law enforcement and the military to assist federal immigration authorities to deport nearly 20 million illegal immigrants in an operation inspired by the Dragnet-style sweeps of Operation Wetback under former President Dwight Eisenhower that deported more than 1 million migrants in 1954. So you see, it can be done. Dwight Eisenhower proved it in 1954. We have a lot more technology and better transportation now than they did back then. A Border Patrol source said everyone wants to get in case Trump gets elected. But not everyone is betting on Trump closing down the border. Some migrants believe that if the border czar, Vice President Kamala Harris, is elected, there'll be another wave of illegals racing into the U.S. And I can tell you that's probably the case, sadly. The source said that they're afraid they're going to miss their opportunity. Yep, well, I can bet you they probably are. That's it for today's edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined my mailing list yet, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails and the most up-to-date news. Also, join me on my YouTube channel. Be sure and like, comment, and subscribe. Just search for Joey Hudson. As always, thanks for spending a few minutes of your day with me. Do me a favor and forward this episode to a few friends. Just click on the share button and send to your contacts. We need to build an army of conservatives to win our country back, and we can do that by continuing to share the truth with our friends and family. Keep those comments coming via the Firmin Ford text line 864-477-JOEY. Email to joey@joeyhudson.com, and I love your messages on the MyPillow message line. Again, that's 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Be sure and take advantage of the MyPillow special, just $14.88 on the standard MyPillows when you use promo code Joey. Order online at mypillow.com or call 800-893-4053. We're back again tomorrow and hope you'll plan to join us. Until then, remember, God's got this. He's still in control.